fight's not over.
Stop the fight!
People.
Everybody, I come here for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the champ. I'm the king. Kill everybody. Ah!
Okay, guys, we just came off of Thompson versus Holland, and before I talk about our bets, I actually just want to talk about the main event for a minute. Just goddamn, Wonderboy putting on a masterclass. First round we picked Holland, but Holland had him hurt in the first round. Wonderboy covered up really well there. I think Kevin Holland could have mixed it up to the body instead of trying to just hunt for the head when he had him hurt. But, we talked about this, like Holland cutting down distance for Wonderboy was too easy. I mean, considering Holland has an 80-inch reach, he doesn't use it too well, and that was something I was kind of scared about in this fight. But Wonderboy... Man, I looked at the live odds. He was like plus 120 after round 2, and I thought, man, that's pretty good, but I also don't want to put it past Holland to try to get a finish. Didn't play it. But yeah, Holland, super tough. I can't believe how many head kicks he ate. Round 4, debatably one of the first, maybe not first, but a debatable 10-7. I mean, Kevin Holland's head got beat in, and Wonderboy, there was like 2.5 minutes where Wonderboy just had him stuck on the fence and teeing off on him, head kicks, body kicks, and I saw a judge gave that round 10-9. I just can't believe that somebody would give that a 10-9. I don't know how Holland's chin holds up in those situations. It's crazy. That's probably up there, top 3 fights of the year for me, stylistically. I know some people... bet on it, and they kind of want Holland to shoot for those or keep those takedowns positions, but when you're complaining about getting wrestled, it's kind of not a great look to also just wrestle. Although Wonderboy is just fucking legit. Loved everything about that main event. Let's get into the other fights here. So we won 2.01 units yesterday on the fights. We had Phil Rowe as our first straight bet as an underdog. I thought Nico Price looked extremely sloppy, kind of throwing punches like Juliana Pena, nothing behind them. And Phil Rowe, man, I talked about this before too, like fight IQ, he just did not seem smart, didn't know when to pour it on Nico. The first round he had Nico super hurt, and then just kind of watched him recover. And Phil... I don't know, it's hard to trust him, but he has such a size advantage over these guys he's facing. He looked massive compared to Nico. And, but yeah, once he strung some punches together, he actually could find a finish. When he was getting hurt, didn't keep his hands up when he was getting hurt. Made me so freaking nervous. Keeps his hands here. He's like, head's bobbling around like a wild man. Alright, into the parlays. I had Mark DeCasey and Nicolau. Again, another nervous thing. DeCasey fought 2 non-wrestlers in a row, and Johnson has a way better takedown defense than the 2 guys he most recently fought. Still a close fight. I'll accept the fact, and MJ had a good performance in rounds 2 and 3. Nicolau, as predicted, better than Matt Schnell, dug his feet into the ground, threw those heavy hooks, and put down Schnell. Wasn't really much of a surprise to me there. Next parlay, Marshall Dos Anjos Pierce. Francis Marshall is pretty legit. I mean, the dude has a fire hydrant for a head, kind of like Drew Dober. He fights like Drew Dober too. Heavy hands and really durable. Just like Rojo caught him a couple times, hardly phased him, kept moving forward, and slept him real bad. Dos Anjos, fight went exactly how we expected. Tick him down, Barbrand tries to get up, gives a position, Dos Anjos submits him. That's what happened. Pierce, not a great performance, didn't look too great on the feet, but he's also fighting an old man in Elkins. Elkins still a dog, though. Got that parlay. The 2 parlays at plus money structure paid out. That's nice. Mateus Nicolau, Matt Schnell under 2.5. Like I said, Schnell's coming into range, doesn't have a chin. Nicolau faced some decent opponents most recently. when he really sat down on a punch, he can put down Matt. And, yeah, I mean, I also played a knockout thing on a separate bet, but we'll leave that out of this. And then moving down, we got Levy and Valdez. Oh, man, the under 2.5, almost, like, it should have hit. Levy hurt Valdez a couple times, and Valdez was catching Levy, but they both stuck in there. Valdez's ankle was insane in that fight. A lot of cool stuff going on. Moving down, Yasmin. I actually missed the first 2 minutes of this fight. I was on Blood Money and Johnny K's stream, and I had to move my setup over. And Yasmin got knocked down, but I didn't see, and then I caught the end of the first round where she was winning. And then we kind of expected, though, Nunes could have a decent round one. Yasmin comes back, gets a knockout. That was our prediction as well. Very good fighter. I mean, if she gets knocked down in round one, whatever. Not a lot of these chicks are going to do that. Next, Tai Tuivasa, Sergey Pavlovich. With that, Yasmin, we got the under 1.5 in that one. Hit with ease, obviously. It's just an unfair matchup for Tai in a way. You're just facing a dude way bigger than you. But all respect to him, not a lot of people would take that matchup. And yeah, another positive week. Flip over to my stat sheet. That's 4 winning weeks in a row. I got these ones right here. I think I added them together. That's 12.07 units in the last 4 events. That's a pretty good roll here. And let's get into the picks now. Okay, for the first fight, we have Cameron Saaiman versus Steven Koslow. I watched some tape on Steven Koslow, was not impressed, and Cameron Saaiman really impressed in his Contender Series fight. If I had to draw a UFC comparison to him, I'd honestly say Habib Basharat. I mean, he carries a really similar style, like in and out of range, fast hands, and I like him to win this fight pretty easily, to be honest. He showed a pretty decent fight IQ, and I'm all over the KO here for him. If you're gonna look at Steven Koslow's record, it's a pretty untested record. I mean, and a lot of these guys that you beat, if you have all your wins by submission, a little bit of a red flag. You might be facing people with not much ground game experience, and it's just an easy way to finish the fight. But again, no professional fights for that guy. 2-7, 6-8, 1-1, 4-4. Not a single winning record on that. But I watched his film. Steven, he looked slow on the feet until he found it to the ground. Cameron in his Contender Series fight, I really liked how he used the whizzer sometimes to hold someone down and not let them get that takedown. And I think he is one of the up-and-comers. But this is a setup fight in my eyes. And
even in that Contender Series fight, for only 21 years old, he really showed like a good gas tank, which you don't really see as often. He was getting better and better as the rounds went on, and we had a live bet on him to finish into that third round.
Right.
You could just feel the momentum swinging.
So I believe Saaiman is on short notice here because Ronnie Lawrence and his opponent both pulled out when they tried to replace.
Saaiman was scheduled for this card, but
not with
Koslow.
Lawrence. And then I think Lawrence was scheduled against somebody, and then Lawrence's guy pulled out, Saaiman filled in, Lawrence pulled out, and then now Koslow's the fill-in. So this guy's on pretty short notice. Either way, I liked Saaiman here, and I liked him by a knockout against a slower fighter on the feet. KO round 1. Okay, for the next fight, we have Ovince Preux versus Antonio Trocoli. Man, OSP's last fight was a shit show in my eyes, and I actually wasn't entirely convinced he won that fight. I kind of thought Shogun actually pulled that one out. And he's on a cold streak here. Quite a few losses in a row. His last significant win I can remember was the Alonzo Menafield one, the step back left hook. and he's slowing down here, and then Trocoli on the other side. Not a very polished fighter. His most recent opponent, which over a year ago here, is this guy listed, who is in horrible shape, and he had a giant size advantage on him, and it looks like everybody Trocoli's ever faced, he's had a massive size advantage on.
In the Contender Series, they're pretty evenly matched, though, size-wise.
Yeah, I mean, just that previous one makes you question what's going to happen here. I think Trocoli might, improve over a year. It's hard to say what's really going to happen here. I just can't trust OSP. I wouldn't blame anyone for picking him in this fight. You won't see any bets from us on this fight. That's just me a stressful thing to follow if you're betting on it.
In OSP's last fight, he just didn't do anything.
He kicked. He kicked the whole fight. That was all he did.
Yeah.
It was body kicks. And
in Trocoli's Contender Series fight, like the first kick he threw, he broke his foot and continued to fight through it and found a submission in round 1.
Right.
I liked what I saw from him.
And OSP...
And he's on the sauce, too, so that should help him.
OSP is not the most coordinated guy, too. He could easily get taken down here. But yeah, again, like you said, on the sauce, big dude.
OSP has a 66% takedown defense.
It feels like he's okay, but he takes down some opponents occasionally, but also hasn't gotten a choke like his last Von Flute or whatever in a while. So yeah, Trocoli, submission. We'll do round 1. No faith in this one though. Okay, for our next fight, we have Perrin versus Raul Rosas Jr. Looking at this, it's the UFC trying to set up a fight here for Rosas to get an early win in the UFC. And they're pushing this guy. His wrestling did look really good on the Contender Series. Good takedowns, good top control, but then also gave up position a couple of times. Something to feel a little nervous about. I mean, his opponent was pulling guillotines. He was getting some easy-ass takedowns, too. He also got caught in a guillotine in the first round. Got out of that position. But this is a big testing point. I mean, Perrin isn't some crazy fighter, but this is a 10-year age gap. And typically the 10-year age gap stats that we see are the 66% win rate is for the 10 years difference is for the younger fighter, and they're usually 30 versus 40 is that stat. But I think that Rosas does win this one and wins it by a decision. I mean, what are your thoughts here?
I think Rosa wins a decision here. Perrin's only been submitted one time, and that was back in Bellator in 2017. So I like him to survive. He's definitely not going to want to be the one known as getting choked out by Rosas Jr. But yeah, they're trying to set up Rosa, push him, and you already know they added him to the UFC video game before he even has a UFC fight. So.
Right, and I like the fact that Perrin survived Mario Batista on the ground, and in some other bad positions, and I think. One thing to be nervous about, if you're thinking about betting Rosas here, I could understand it. But at the same time, even if you watch this Contender Series fight, there's moments where he just kind of goes haywire with his striking. And not that Perrin's this expert. I mean, he did hurt Erik Lane kind of at the end of his last fight, in the last couple seconds. But there is a little bit to be nervous about if this dude just goes into punches like crazy. But he does have a crazy face and head shape, and he's pretty built for his age.
Should have that Mexican chin.
You'd hope. But yeah, I like this one to go the distance. Rosas Jr. by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Daniel De Silva versus Vinicius Salvador. Daniel De Silva, a bit slow here. 3 losses in all of his UFC fights. Against some pretty decent fighters, but doesn't show much durability. I mean, you're getting finished early in the second round, I believe it was, first round, and first round with Victor Altamirano. I mean, all these fights, too, he had a moment where he looked okay, and actually won a small portion of the first round until kind of losing grip of it. His fight IQ isn't that great. He kind of can expend energy really fast. And Vinicius Salvador on the other side. Heavy hands. And again, this is just like Francis Marshall, a guy that fought on week 2 of the Contender Series. And in my eyes, this was one of the best fights of the year, MMA related. I think Salvador and Shannon Ross put on an absolute show in their fight. And
they signed both of them, too. So
yeah, they signed both in that fight.
Tells you how good it was.
And he flatlined Ross at the end of the fight, too. So I liked Salvador here. He does keep his hands a little bit low. And he had a size advantage against Ross, which he was able to use pretty well. And I just like his heavy hands. I mean, he'll crank that left hand back, and he'll rip to the body, go upstairs. And they've said before he slows down a lot, but this dude actually held a pretty good gas tank for the war that he was in with Shannon Ross. And I like a knockout here, and I'm going to say round 2. I think Daniel Da Silva, again, might have an okay first round, slow down. Salvador probably find him.
Yeah, I'll probably be looking at the under here in this fight. If you look at Salvador's record, second round knockout, first round knockout, second round knockout, and then of his losses too, he's getting finished early in the second round. And
you also have to mention in the Shannon Ross fight, like, he dropped the dude 3 or 4 times until the fight ended, and then, like, I think the first knockdown, like, was so clean that everyone thought the fight was over, and then, like, Ross rose from the dead.
Right.
So, I mean, I just think Daniel Da Silva doesn't seem to have it all together here. I like the momentum of Salvador. So
yeah, we should see a finish in this fight.
Yep, Salvador KO round 2. Okay, for the next fight we have Chris Curtis versus Joaquin Buckley. We're looking at a pretty good stand-up fight here in this fight here, and I like that these guys are built pretty similar, similar height, similar reach. And this is going to be a really good matchup. I mean, who do you like in this fight here?
Yeah, this fight, like you said, should be a really close fight. I think it should be pick 'em odds here, but Chris Curtis is a little bit of a dog here, and I'm leaning towards that dog money.
Yeah,
Chris Curtis.
I'm surprised he's the underdog. I mean, this guy has a ton of incredible or high-level experience. Has fought a lot of people in his career. It's a lot of 29 wins is a lot of fucking wins. And I think in that Jack Hermanson fight, what you saw too is Jack Hermanson fighting really well, going backwards, keeping his length, using his kicking game, and Chris Curtis just had trouble getting into that. But
yeah, he just wants to stand there and bang. I mean, he wasn't really didn't really cut off the cage very well with Hermanson.
Exactly, and Buckley here, this is a guy that really doesn't use his length too well for a decent reach he has at his height. Doesn't really use his length that well with his arms. He kind of just loves to throw the hooks, and I think Chris Curtis has a really high guard. Probably will see those strikes coming, and I mean, Chris Curtis, he has that bit of touch of death on him, and I mean, even Rodolfo Vieira, he felt some of that power, didn't quite go out, but Brendan Allen put him on skates, and Phil Halls just timed him until he found a finish. And I like a knockout here for Chris Curtis. I mean, do you see that?
I like that too. I really like that Curtis goes to the body as well too.
Yeah.
He invests in the body shots, and it opens up the head as well.
I will say the diverse difference in their game might be that Buckley's going to use more kicks here. But like I said, Curtis kind of has that higher guard. Unless Buckley's slipping that kick over his shoulder and Chris Curtis doesn't see it coming, it might not come into play. But yeah, pretty surprised to see Buckley as an underdog. I mean, Chris Curtis. I mean, Buckley's got some okay wins, but dude, if Chris Curtis fought Durev or whatever the fuck his name is, Albert, he would have fucked him up real bad. I mean, so did Buckley, but Chris Curtis's takedown defense is great. I think Chris Curtis would have beat Abdul Razak Al Hassan as well. I'm all over Curtis here. I'm planning on betting him too. Curtis KO round 2. Okay, for the next fight, we have Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Chris Daukaus. And, man, the UFC is doing Chris Daukaus no favors. He's facing another heavy hitter in Jairzinho. Although I'm not big on Jairzinho's style, that he still has that crazy power. He's really, really low volume. I just have a hard time seeing Daukaus keep overcoming these weight disadvantages and coming into these fights and just putting people away. Some of the competition he's faced, too, doesn't really stack up to some of the people Jairzinho's beat here. And, I'm all over Jairzinho. What do you think?
Yeah, going into that, for Daukaus, going into that Lewis fight, he was a slight favorite against Derek Lewis,
right?
Which was really surprising going into that fight in my eyes. But he's Daukaus. That is coming in with 2 tough losses against Lewis and Blades, and he seems so light for the division. It's tough to back him. I don't know if he would be able to.
Is the problem?
Yeah, I don't know if he'd be able to lose some weight and make it down to light heavyweight.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, something I also like about this fight is the fact that Jairzinho didn't get knocked out cold in his last fight. He kind of took out punches, then there was a questionable stoppage or whatever. Daukaus on the other side, 2 clean knockouts in a row. I don't think he didn't go fully out versus Blades, but it was super clean timing, and it definitely didn't feel good. I can tell you that. But I'm gonna give this one a round 2 knockout for Jairzinho. He's a slow starter. Doesn't like to feel things out. This bigger cage might take a minute until things get going. And Daukaus, like the guy's style, like his power and stuff, but a little bit outmatched in weight for this division. For the next fight, we have Erik Silva versus TJ Brown. TJ Brown, a little bit bigger of a favorite than he should have been in his last fight versus Shailen Nebredebeki, and not totally impressed with his UFC career. I mean, some people think that Charles Rosa is a little bit better than he is. He's kind of just a punching bag with some decent jiu-jitsu. TJ Brown doesn't really impress me with the hands. Got taken down quite a few times by Shailen. Doesn't seem to have a very well-rounded game or is great anywhere. So I'm not really about his game. Erik Silva on the other side hasn't been tested too much on the feet and hasn't gotten a ton of takedowns stopped for him. But we're going to pick him in this fight. He has really good length on his feet using his kicks. I like the way he hits the calf. He can mix it up to the body with a kick. Really doesn't get his hands going too much. Kind of worrisome. But he's been the stronger guy here, I think, at this weight class. A little bit older than TJ Brown. Finds a takedown. I think his trademark submission is just the rear naked choke, like a Renato Moicano. And that's pretty much just how I see this fight. I mean, there's nothing special.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of contender series fighters from this season starting to fight now with Francis Marshall and a couple other guys on this card.
Yeah, Cameron Saaiman, yeah.
Rosas, Saaiman.
Yeah. It's hard to pick against him, too, because it feels like... All right, this fight as much, I don't think, is like a preparation fight for them to build up a fighter, but it still seems like a little bit more of a favorable matchup. So, sticking with it. But yeah, you won't see a bet on this fight for me, though. Silva submission round 1. For the next fight, we have Billy Quarantillo versus Alexander Hernandez. Hernandez felt like the UFC kind of varies this guy's fights. I mean, you kind of look at his record and see how it is, but seems to fight a good fighter and then a bad fighter and then a good fighter and then a bad fighter and then a good fighter. I'm just not going to follow that trend here. Billy Q is a pretty good fighter.
And that shows on his record, too. Win-loss, 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 win-loss.
Right. They've tried to promote him a couple times. He still does have decent power. I mean, he can sleep people cold. Billy Quarantillo, kind of a zombie. His last fight, Shane Burgos, one of the fight of the years, or fights of the year in my eyes last year. Billy Q, we're going to pick him here. He's got the better pace here, cardio, and Alexander Hernandez, he can't fight backwards, man. I don't think he can walk backwards and find strikes. He's very good offensively moving forwards, and he's not good defensively or offensively going backwards. Keeps that low base, and Moicano, as soon as he pushed him back, hit him until he got to the ground and submitted him there. And Billy Q's style is just forward pressure constantly. And somewhat he paid for it in that Burgos fight. He got rocked quite a few times, but he fights through it. He also hit Burgos clean many times and kind of just made it through that as well. But Burgos is pretty durable. I mean, that guy probably has he's gotten finished a couple times, but he's got a pretty good strike absorbed to finished ratio. But yeah, Alexander Hernandez, okay wrestling. I think Billy Q's pressure could lead to better wrestling here, but I like a Billy Q late knockout in this. I'm going to say round 3. I think Hernandez could crumple under the pressure over the time here, but also a decision is live. Seen a lot of finishes on this card.
In Hernandez's losses, they're usually tending to come in second round, so you could see that trend continue.
Yeah, he doesn't take damage too well. Like I said, it's forward, right hands down the pipe is kind of just his thing, and if it's not his way, it's usually him not winning. So, Quarantillo KO round 3. Okay, for the next fight, we have Edmen Shahbazyan versus Dalcha Lungiambula. In this one, man, Edmen's a minus 300 favorite, mostly because Dalcha just doesn't have the greatest record of keeping his gas and maintaining through a fight. But Edmen's also the same kind of way here. He slows down as a fight goes on, and 3 straight losses and given pretty good
great for both these guys. So you could see one of them getting cut if they don't win here.
Right. I mean, the UFC took way too much. It's way too much of a jump here with Shahbazyan, and they just gave him no good fights. You got Brunson, Hermanson, and Imanov. I mean, that's 3 ground games that he just couldn't get over. And he's taken a lot of damage, but I like the fact that he's taken a year off, and maybe he's improved that grappling. Dalcha, on the other hand, he's kind of just got the stand-up. He's dangerous because he's really freaking big, and he's kind of scary big for people in this division. But technically, not that great. You'll probably see Shahbazyan hold his ground, maybe clinch up a couple times to slow down Dalcha. And we like a second round KO for Edmen here. And yeah, again, like minus 300 for Edmen. That's the price you're going to pay. I mean, this is like, he's got like a hole in his chest. He slows down in fights. I do like
He's 10 years younger, though.
10 years younger. I do like his hands. He does have pretty good hands, but I think can kind of get caught up in some trades sometimes. You just don't know what you're getting here. But yeah, Edmen KO round 2. All right, for the next fight, we have Bryce Mitchell versus Ilia Topuria. This is a crazy interesting matchup to me. I've gone back and forth looking at this fight. I mean, Bryce Mitchell, great grappling. We haven't really seen him get shut down with too many takedowns so far, and has also showed like phenomenal pressure on top of his opponents. Holding them down, good wrist control. He knows how to position their body and fights for a lot of submission attempts. And so surprisingly, a lot of people probably don't realize it, has way better hands than people expect. I think that wrestling, sets up a lot of that striking. but
Yeah,
also
for sure.
he was outstriking Andre Fili pretty well with a jab, and Bryce has a pretty solid jab. I mean, he put the 1-2 on Edson Barbosa, which put him down in round 1, and I just think that he's going to be a little bit better here, and I think the odds will probably swing even further in Topuria's favor. But Topuria on the other side, we all know, crazy power, good jiu-jitsu, and I think it's going to be pretty tough for him to come back down and make this weight. I think once you feel that 155 weight class, going back down to 145, he's going to be pretty freaking drained here.
Yeah, interesting to see what he'll look like on the scales.
Yeah, I don't think he'll look too great. Big legs.
Because with that, he did have a Charles Jourdain fight he was supposed to have, but he couldn't make weight.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I do not, actually, but I feel like Topuria here, he's got 100% takedown defense, but he's also got 100% takedown defense versus people who aren't wrestlers. Ryan Hall rolled for Eminari rolls for 3 minutes until he fell down and got kind of knocked out. Damon Jackson is a jiu-jitsu guy, but not quite a wrestler. And Yusuf Zalal, actually, when I was rewatching this fight, he actually had timing on Topuria for a takedown. He didn't get it, but if Bryce Mitchell has that timing on Topuria, he's probably going to be on, his back's probably going to be on the canvas. And I don't think Bryce is going to finish him there. I think we're going to see a decision. But if Bryce is in top control, it could be his fight to grab here.
And when he's on top control, we haven't really seen him lose it. He tends to control it for the rest of that round.
Right. And all these other opponents, I mean, it's kind of hard because Topuria is really good at stalking people and cutting off the cage on everyone. But Bryce Mitchell circles the cage really well. It's also something else I like for him to get out of the danger. And you've talked about this, and it's a perfect point. It's like destiny right now. Bryce Mitchell's the flat earther here, and Joe Rogan, made fun of flat earthers or something, and Bryce Mitchell took that personally, put an Instagram post out of him yelling at Joe Rogan for calling him and his mama dumb. And we just think that moment in the cage as well is destined to happen, where Bryce calls out Joe Rogan about flat earth in front of a shit ton of people. So I feel like there's a lot of things adding up here for Bryce. We'll put that little cherry on top.
Destiny is bound to happen right here.
But the biggest thing I see from this fight, Bryce has better hands than you probably realize, and we haven't seen Topuria use a jab, use a straight. I kind of compare it to Otman Azatar and the Matt Frivola fight. A little bit different, but similar. Topuria is kind of more of the Azatar, swinging his hammers. And Bryce might get flatlined, but I'll take a swing on Bryce here still. Bryce by decision. Okay, for our next fight, we have Darren Till versus Dricus du Plessis. This is a great matchup for the UFC's making here. Darren, a bit of a skid here. Faced a good wrestler in Derek Brunson last. But got taken down. But Derek Brunson takes down many people who just don't have that wrestling background. And honestly, I was super impressed by his Robert Whittaker performance 2+ years ago. I thought that Darren controlled the range really well. He knocked down Robert in round 1. And then Darren got a knee injury in that fight, which kind of affected the rest of the fight for him.
That seems to be his kryptonite. If you look at Tapology, it's cancel bell.
Right.
And his Hermanson fight, too, was supposed to be in July. Canceled again.
Right. And, Rob's just top of the division, and if you can hang with that dude at range, you're a pretty damn good fighter. Du Plessis on the other side, crazy knockout power. Brad Tavares probably should have been knocked out like 10 times in that fight. But also showed some poor fight IQ. First round did not look good. Weird thing about Duplessis is he throws super heavy strikes and then looks really tired after doing so, and he takes these giant deep breaths, but he recharges his Terminator battery, and he comes back out with the same power the whole fight. So it may seem like he's slowing down, but I don't think he actually slows down too much. His movement gets a little bit lazy with his feet and stuff.
His body language does not look good.
Right. And I don't like the fact that Duplessis, the way that he strikes is just sprinting across the cage at someone. Darren's got really good footwork. When Rob did that against Darren, Rob got dropped. And I don't think that Darren's gonna knock out Duplessis in this fight, but I do like him to take this decision here.
Yeah, and I like Hittil here as well. He's fought way better competition. He's only 29 too, so he's still getting better.
Right.
But it's crazy to think he's still only 29 with the competition he's fought compared to Duplessis, who's a year younger. It's only his third UFC fight.
Right.
Fourth UFC fight.
The only couple things I question is Till's motivation. He had a DUI right. 6 months ago or something, and him and Hamzat, they can train together, but I think Hamzat's more that driving force and that training thing.
Well, I've seen pictures of Till online. He's been training
banged out
in Thailand. Yeah.
Yeah. Duplessis, if he's gonna do that thing where he runs across the cage, I mean, he's got long arms and he could hit Darren Till at distance on the chin. It's totally live. It's the same thing as this last Topuria fight. I'm again surprised Darren Till's the underdog here. I think it's just because of the win streak versus the 4 of the last 5 losses. But yeah, that's how I see this fight. Anything else from you?
You nailed it.
Darren Stauza. Okay, for the next fight, we have Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler, on the end of his career here. Ponzinibbio close too as well, but very good competitive fight with Michel Pereira. Almost an impossible fight to score in my eyes. Every round felt very close, but could have won there. Split decision with Jeff Neal. One of the good fights with Miguel Baeza. Went back and forth. Looked really tough with the lead kicks in that fight. Robbie Lawler on the other side. Brian Barberena winning that first round until he kind of started to let up. Got knocked out later in the fight. Beating old man Nick Diaz, smoking all the ganja, and kind of getting on a roll of losses from some wrestling. Ponzinibbio is the pretty obvious pick here. I don't like how much of a favorite Ponzinibbio is, but it's understandable. He's minus 400. But I don't think this one needs a ton of explanation. Robbie's just looking slower. Since that Colby Covington fight, he just loves to do the bobbing and weaving. And up until the point you get caught, and in your volume's less than the other fighter, you're not going to win that scorecard. So I really like a Ponzinibbio knockout here. If Barberena gets it, I think that Ponzinibbio will probably get it.
Totally agree.
You agree? Nice. Ponzinibbio, KO. I'm putting round 2 once the feeling out process gets past it. Okay, for this fight, we have the wee lad, Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon. Paddy, it feels like the UFC once again kind of intervening. I wouldn't say this is a complete fixed fight in a way, but Jordan Levitt and Jared Gordon are kind of a similar opponent style. I think it's more that grappling side, and I actually I could see a KO or a submission for Paddy in this spot. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he has the advantage on the feet here. They're building him up to get. This is probably When you say this is probably his toughest test.
Maybe. Gordon's more of a natural 145er, but he's kind of got like a higher body fat percentage. So he's going to be like a smaller 155er. And, I mean, that was really obvious in the Grant Dawson fight. He was like completely outsized, and Dawson has crazy strength and took him down a shit ton and then submitted him. Paddy's also huge. He's making that giant weight cut here. And personally, I like a knockout, even though he's been submitting everyone's ass. I mean, you like a knockout?
Yeah, I could see he's got it all. I mean, he could win knockout or submission.
It's not on here, but Jared Gordon actually, I think he's not lost by knockout like 3 or 4 times for his losses. Again,
yeah, Diego Ferreira.
The bigger guy, he might test out his striking a little bit here too. Maybe show the crowd his improvements. He's got to be investing a lot of money into that. You got an age difference here on Paddy's side. I disagree with the order of this main card. I think that Paddy Pimblett probably should not be the co-main event, but it's just the way the UFC's been lately.
And it wouldn't be if the Glover fight didn't get canceled.
Right. I think that looking down this card, that the order would have been, this is the first fight of the main card. Darren Till would be the co-main event. Bryce Mitchell and Ilia Topuria would be that third fight. The fourth fight would be Santiago, Ponzinibbio, Robbie Lawler. But it is what it is. Again, Paddy probably should get this one. I'm going to say KO round 1. It could look competitive, though. Jared Gordon's got pretty decent wrestling, but once again, it's like a size thing, a strength thing. I think Paddy's got this one. Would you bet this line for him? It's like minus 190 right now.
Yeah. I'll probably be betting on him.
Nice. All right, Pimblett, KO round 1. Okay, for the main event and the replacement fight for the light heavyweight belt, we have Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev. Before we break this fight down, drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. We got the bets coming later in the week for this fight, or this whole card, so stay tuned. But yeah, let's get into this now. We got Magomed Ankalaev, who, in my eyes, I thought if this guy kept on running up, he'd face Jiri and he'd win. That was my honest viewpoint. I think he's the best light heavyweight right now. Jan Blachowicz, though, extremely tested, very good fighter for this division, and held his own with pretty much everybody around here. Besides Glover Teixeira, when he lost the belt, just got destroyed in that fight. Magomed, what really stands out to me and why he's going to win this fight is his wrestling. Jan got taken down so easily by Glover, like a high crotch, and just dumped him, and also gave up ground position extremely fast. And then with Rakic, spent like all of round 2 or something on his back, and he won that fight, obviously by the leg injury, but it looked like he was just going to get taken down again, and that was going to follow that trend till the end of the fight. I mean, what do you like about this fight here?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like every time we count out Jan Blachowicz, when he's a huge underdog, he pulls it off.
Right.
Like, looking at his past 4 fights, when he was a plus 200 underdog to Reyes, wins. Plus 200 underdog to Adesanya, wins. And then when he's a minus 260 favorite against Glover, that's when he loses.
Yeah.
and then going back in his last fight against Rakic, he was plus 170. So
a nice
but
ROI.
Rakic did lose via his leg. But I mean, yeah, you can never count out Blachowicz. Every time I've counted him out, I didn't think he was going to win that last fight, but
Yeah.
he keeps doubting, or we keep doubting him, and he keeps pulling it off. But he's 39 years old now, too. So
Right. And this fight could look really 50-50 on the feet, which kind of scares me, because like we say, Polish power, and if he touches him, it could be really scary here. I literally like
Santos did knock down Ankalaev in their fight.
Oh yeah, it was like the second or third round or something. It was just that like one punch he had in that fight.
Right.
And Magomed, he doesn't seem to like to get hit a ton, but again, that's why I think his wrestling will come into play well. Magomed is so freaking good at a couple different things. Obviously the range he holds is fantastic, but he's got a phenomenal check hook. This dude can fight backwards and touch somebody when they come into range with his right hook. He's got a good left hand, which he can follow with his left high kick, and he's got fast hips and has a fast left kick, rear leg kick. I really like a lot about his game. He's not super high volume, but this dude knows how to win decisions, and when he knocks someone out, they usually go out pretty bad. Jan, gonna be really hard to knock this guy out. I mean, Jan's pretty damn durable. I think the only person that's finished him is, other than Glover, with a knockout is Thiago Santos. And these Russian dudes like Ankalaev, they don't like to go for these submissions to give up position. Something else you'll like about Ankalaev, he's not gonna be doing a Glover, pulling guillotine. He's gonna be only in top control if he's doing anything. If you want to look at how this fight could be competitive on the feet, I think the Israel Adesanya round 2 between him and Jan and Izzy is like a perfect example of why this fight could be really competitive on the feet. Outstruck Izzy, landed the cleaner strikes on him. That's a pretty tall dude to fight a little bit faster guy in Izzy. And I like that Jan didn't load up on his punches too much. And then you go on the Rakic fight. He absorbed a ton of leg kicks from Rakic early, and it looked like his calf blew up. And then he started kicking the shit out of Rakic's leg. And Rakic's leg and blew up until he got hurt.
Yeah, Blachowicz does do a really good job at checking those leg kicks.
Right. And Magomed, it's going to look a little bit different in this fight because it's going to be a southpaw versus orthodox, so you probably won't see a ton of calf kicks either way. Although I feel like even the inside calf kick has gotten a little bit more popular. Again, I don't see a finish in this fight. I think that Ankalaev wins this belt by decision. He's gone to decision with a couple other competitive fighters. And if you're looking at some takedown stuff, I mean, Nikita Krylov's fight is a really good example of how he can maintain position and win a fight against another good grappler. So I like that fight as an example.
And I think 2 fights ago for Ankalaev against Santos in that main event, I think that was a 5-round main event. I think that was a good 5-round experience for him to gain before this fight.
Right, and up there with the highest fight IQ. Jan's has a pretty good fight IQ as well, but I think you can't really beat this guy. You won't see him slip and make him a shit ton of mistakes. So, other than the Paul Craig last second tap, but
yeah.
Other than that, clean record, pretty much 19-0. Taking him here, younger fighter, and Magomed Ankalaev by decision. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, we got bets coming up for this one. Hope you guys enjoy what we're doing. I got some end of the year stat review stuff we're gonna do. We think we got one more card after this. But yeah, let's enjoy UFC 282. Anything else from you?
Yeah, after the one card, then it's a month off of UFC. So
NFL betting.
Yes, if you're into that.
Yeah, and if you're American, probably.
Yeah.
Or World Cup betting. Maybe we'll do a video. Who knows?
No, I'm not. I don't know anything about that.
All right, well, peace.
Peace.
I know. It doesn't matter from the trenches. I'm built like this. The old down to me said I couldn't do it. The old said I couldn't do it.